Hi everyone. I wanted to share with you all a film holder that I designed and built for scanning medium format film. I think this is a little unique and haven't seen anyone do anything quite like this, which is why I designed and built my own. And I didn't want to just sit on this. I wanted to share it with some folks to see if anyone thought it was interesting. The motivation for this was, so I scan on an Epson V750. I don't do DSLR scanning because I don't own a DSLR. I shoot film. The only digital camera I have is my cell phone, which is what I'm shooting this on here, so apologies for any quality issues. What I found to be the most important thing when scanning on a flatbed scanner was matching your film plane to the focal plane of your scanner, which means two things. One, you need to be able to hold your film as close to a perfect plane as possible. And then you need to be able to position that plane to be coplanar to the focal plane of your scanner. So focus is probably more important than anything else for flatbed scanning, in my opinion. And I just wasn't satisfied with the film holders that came with the scanner. I was a little intimidated by wet mounting film. I heard people really love that, but it just wasn't something that interested me. So I'm a mechanical engineer, and I thought, you know what, I think I can come up with a way to hold this film flat without using fluid mounting and without adding A&R glass or any other sheets of plastic that are used for wet mounting. And part of that was, well, the main reason for that was I just didn't want anything in my scan that wasn't my film. The more transitioning surfaces you have between media, so there's your film, the emulsion. If you're using A&R glass, there's both surfaces of that glass. If you're wet mounting, there's both surfaces of the fluid. These are all opportunities for light to refract, and that will affect your image some amount. Enough to make a difference, I don't know, but I didn't think I needed that because I came up with this idea. So the way this works and what makes it different from other film holders I've seen is it clamps the edges of the film. There's nothing new about that. But once the film is clamped, it pulls it. And it tensions it kind of like a trampoline. And in doing so, it pulls it incredibly flat without needing to add any additional layers. And then once it's flat, I have some really, really, really fine adjuster feet on here, and I'll get into those in a moment, that allow me to, well, basically the limit of the accuracy of my focus is my patience, because I have super fine adjustability with this. So I'll just do a little demonstration on how this works. So I've got a medium format negative here. I sized this big enough to hold 6x17 because ever since I stumbled on Nick Carver, I've dreamed of shooting 6x17 someday. So many of my photography decisions are based around hopefully doing that at some point. Have I opened this yet? No, I haven't. Sorry. All right, so the first thing you do, takes an Allen wrench. You just loosen these 10 screws, and I just loosen them by one revolution. And what that does is these black stripes that you see on here, these are steel clamps that are spring-loaded up. So when I loosen these, they'll actually pop up a bit. And now you'll be able to see. Boy, this lighting is terrible. Sorry, guys. See this gap here? That's where the film's going to go. And you can see how that's spring-loaded. So I'll put this back down. I'll get my film. And I'll drop it in here. So now it's kind of sitting in that slot. And I'll turn on my light table. And what I'm looking to do is to get, really the good amount of film under there without cutting off my image. So something like that. I don't scan the border information. It's not valuable to me. I know some folks like to do that, and that's fine, but it's not something that's important to me. And then I tighten these screws, and I'm not cranking on them. I basically go finger tight and then a tiny bit more. Finger tight, tiny bit more. And then I check my other side. That side looks okay. Just make a minor adjustment. It's about right. I'll kill this light so you can see again. So I'm going back to here, tighten it, tighten it, tighten it. I will say this is not the fastest process in the world, but this is what I do. All right, then you can take your blower, blow off your film, and actually listen to that film for a moment. I think that's the sound that we're all used to hearing. Now these little screws here, I'm gonna take an Allen wrench, and I'm gonna, so actually you can see there the reflection of the film in the window. And actually this one looks like it's got a little damage to it there. That's not from this film holder, I promise. And I'm just gonna tighten this, and you'll see the negative flatten out right away. And then I'll grab this end, same thing. See how sharp that reflection got? And now listen to the film. It's tight like a drum. And I've barely turned this at all. I don't want people to think I'm torturing my film. I was actually scared to try this the first time. I thought I would damage my negative. And now I have this, it's flat. With the exception of that little deformity on the negative. I'm not sure what happened to that. But it's flat, and it's flat without adding any additional layers. So that meets part one. I've got a flat piece of film. Now what? I've got these three little adjusters on here, and adjustment feet is nothing new on a film holder. What makes these particularly good is they're not a normal thread. So if I flip this over, see if I can get one even remotely in focus. You can see how small those threads are. This is not a normal set screw. There's a company called Thor Labs. That's where I got these. And they make, among other things, they make equipment for laser tables. So if a research lab or someone's doing anything, if you've ever seen pictures of those laser tables, like a big flat table, a bunch of holes in it, and there are these modular pieces that are designed to snap into the table so you can set up optical experiments. And part of that process involves very precise alignment of your optics, and they use really fine thread adjusters to do that. So I went to Thor Labs and I ordered these tiny set screws that are M3 by 0.2 millimeter. So 0.2 millimeter thread pitch comes out to a little less than 8 thousandths of an inch per revolution, which means, you know, if I've got a set screw on here and I'm adjusting my focus, 1/8 of an inch is a pretty easy adjustment to make. You know, 1/4 is super easy. 1/8 is about as fine as you want to get reliably, which means in these 3 points, I can make 1/1000th of an inch adjustments in terms of the height and level of my film. The other thing that's neat about this is it's rigid. A lot of film holders are kind of flimsy, so they'll put many feet on it, and that's the right thing to do if it's not rigid. But if you've got a rigid plane, which is what this is, anything more than 3 points is actually over constraining it. So 3 points is all you need to define the position of the plane. So I have these 3 adjusters. They're modified. The ones you buy from Thor Labs come with stainless steel balls on the end. I didn't love the idea of putting a stainless steel ball on my scanner glass, so I drilled these out and I replaced them with, I think they're 2 millimeter ultra high molecular weight polyethylene balls, which are, you know, the material of choice for anything you want to be non-galling and low friction. I mean, this thing practically slides around like a hockey table, air hockey table. It's so smooth. Not that you really want that on your scanner, but the idea is it's not going to scratch the glass. So between being able to hold it flat and being able to adjust it to focus, this really does everything I need it to do. And then probably the last thing people are worried about is, what does this do to my negative? Well, if I just release the tension on this, so now it's back to its, you know, untensioned, deformed state. And I undo these clamps. First time I did this, I used it with a kind of a junk piece of film because I was nervous this would either, you know, emboss a line on the edge of my film, or it would cut the negative, or scratch it somehow, or just, honestly, I was worried it would just rip the negative in half. But after I saw how film is made with that awesome Smarter Everyday video on the Kodak manufacturing process, this can be a little tricky to get out. You can see that film is tensioned a ton as part of its manufacturing process, so the tension's actually not a risk to it at all. But again, if you just look at the reflection, because that's probably the best way to see it on this lousy camera, there is no dent, there's no mark. It's like it was never in the holder. I put very small radiuses on the edges of those clamps that interact with the film to try and protect it, and that seemed to have worked really well. So anyway, there's things I would probably improve about this if I ever make a second one. I've toyed with the idea of kind of continuing to develop this and put the plans online. I'm not sure how well this would 3D print out of plastic, because I think you really need the rigidity of these clamps for this to work well. I could be wrong. But if people are interested enough, and to be totally honest, if I find enough time, maybe that's a project I'll invest some bandwidth in and put some files up online for people to try it on their own, because I think it works really well for me, and maybe there's some folks out there that would want to try it themselves. But anyway, that's it. Just wanted to share. I've learned so much about photography and scanning from lots of folks on YouTube. I thought it would be a little selfish of me not to share what I've learned with the rest of you. So hope you've enjoyed. Thanks.